Welcome to the 2021 Iowa Technology Summit and the LightEdge Lounge. Please welcome President and Chief Executive Officer of LightEdge, Jim Masterson.
Hello everybody, welcome to the 2021 Technology Association of Iowa Tech Summit. A lot has changed over the last year since we last saw each other. I'm back in the office. Hopefully, like me, you've learned to live in the moment and enjoy things along the way. So welcome back. I'm Jim Masterson. I'm the CEO of LightEdge Solutions. We are an enterprise cloud and co-location company located in Des Moines, Iowa. We have 7 data centers in 5 different markets, and we specialize in the highly regulated environments like financial and healthcare. I guess if I had to leave you with a short takeaway of our company, we've been in the cloud and co-location business for literally 17 years, which is really saying something. It gives us a unique experience in helping our customers as they go down that continuum of kind of hybrid IT. We have seen just about all there is to see, or at least can counsel on what you should assume is going to occur as you venture down that path. So that's kind of our go-to-market. Our company has been in business for 25 years. So this Tech Summit this year is especially meaningful for us because this is the year of our 25th anniversary. So it's pretty special. I've been involved with TAI for 15 years or more, and I can honestly tell you that Brian, Tyler, and the entire TAI team has done a phenomenal job taking this organization to another level. So congratulations, everybody at TAI. LightEdge and myself are honored to be primary sponsors of this year's Tech Summit like last year. And I think you're going to find the event has got a tremendous lineup. So I hope you enjoy the next 2 days, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to 2 of my favorite people and 2 leaders within LightEdge, Sean Stenger and Michael Hannon. Thank you. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Jim, and welcome to day 1 of the LightEdge Lounge. I'm Sean Stenger, Vice President at LightEdge Solutions, and this is Michael Hannon, Chief Information Security Officer. And today we're here to talk about the threats, the cybersecurity threat landscape, specifically the increasing risks around ransomware. So, Michael, as we've seen the kind of threat landscape change over the last 12 months, what are you seeing as the most prevalent types of ransomware?
So, and it's an interesting thing because the threat actors continue, a single threat actor may use multiple different varieties. They're all kind of attacking the same different methods, but they kind of bounce back and forth depending on the industry that they're going after, based on their probing, that they see what the infrastructure and the underlying systems and applications that they have, what things are built off of version-wise. They make selections of the path and the direction they're going to get to go, and that's one of the nuanced differences of things that we're seeing now is the amount that they're studying and they're preparing for what they're doing. They're not just heading down a list. I mean, they're figuring out who's probably the best on their team to go down a certain path. So to answer your question, I mean, there isn't one we're seeing more than another. From week to week, we're seeing every different variant, same attackers using 3 different types at the same time in the same type of industry. So it makes it interesting.
Yeah, it seems like it's almost like the commoditization of these types of attacks that really anybody with any kind of means can do this. And it seems like everybody is now a target. This isn't, the big logos in a particular geography. Anyone could potentially be a target. Why has that frequency ramped up so much in just the last few months?
Yeah, and it is absolutely the last, like 6 months, because we had almost a 2-year lull where incidents of these went down. COVID, they're looking for other income sources, and you've got companies. It's more prevalent that companies are getting cyber insurance. The payment of ransoms is also on the rise as companies are getting caught flat-footed, needing to ensure that things aren't getting leaked to these breach websites, or they can unencrypt and get back to work. So you're seeing an increase in payments. With that, you're seeing a huge rise in the number of incidents. You're also seeing a huge rise in the number of payments for it. And the cost of these, not only for the ransom themselves, are ballooning, but the cost of recovery as well. So all those things are kind of playing into it. When you're rewarding the attackers, they're going to attack more. And sometimes for a certain company, it's twice in a very short period as well. So it's interesting right now.
Yeah, so as we, and we definitely want to dig a little bit more into the impact that this can have on the business. But before we talk about that, What are kind of the most common vulnerabilities that we are seeing being exploited, allowing these attackers to get in?
Unfortunately, it's the same ones we always talk about, and everyone's aware of them. The problem is we're not doing enough to stop them or change what we're doing. All of these start with email phishing. Without a doubt, that's the single biggest. It's the human element. We are, as employees, the biggest weakness. We can go around our security and our technical defenses that we put in place. So it's still the social engineering piece, continuing to do that constant education on it, putting tools to also help users so they're not getting as many emails, or you're helping reduce the number of malicious emails that they're getting, helping reduce that so they're not making the mistakes. It's the patching, the vulnerability management. They're pretty quick to move on stuff. You're seeing that with the CVEs coming out on critical vulnerabilities, and how quickly our attackers are leveraging those. You have to move pretty quick. You got to stay up to date on those. Out of date, open source systems and stuff like that, the operating systems, they're really taking advantage of that. So strong patching, vulnerability management is key right now. And then traditional antivirus just really isn't cutting it anymore. When we're helping customers through the ransomware process, we run the new threat that we're seeing through, say VirusTotal or something like that to see who would have detected it. The traditional antiviruses just are missing a lot of these, and a lot of them are using, the same tools that ethical penetration testers are using as well. So they're using off-the-shelf stuff that can get through these things. So you really are needing to move to some next-gen antivirus and EDR to make sure you're protected.
Got it. So it seems like the conversation has changed a little bit from if this could happen to you to, unfortunately, when. Yep. And we see it across all types of company sizes and industries. And so it's the normal story of once someone has been attacked by ransomware, the leadership, senior leadership in organizations are very attuned to what's going on and willing to invest then. Yep. It sounds like a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, that requires an investment in that preventative process. So as you talk about, we've seen organizations that have been impacted by ransomware. How has it impacted the operation of the business, and how can that message be given to folks that are fortunate enough to not been affected by this yet, to get investment from senior leadership to be prepared?
And that's the big thing that I hope to hit today, because I don't know how many times we have these conversations, and it's you look and feel very much like someone we've helped. Please take these steps to do some of the work. And it's not difficult. And a lot of these things aren't expensive. Some of them are time consuming. Some of it may require development because you've got a legacy platform sitting on an outdated OS. That happens. But working through these things, we're trying to coach customers on, you've got an annual DR or business continuity test. Keep that. But let's also do an annual ransomware tabletop. Let's talk about it, because you're exactly right. It's not if, but it's when, and it's how quickly can we catch it, how small can we keep the sprawl, can we keep it to just a few workstations or a single server instead of impacting everything. But the outage portion of it is interesting because a lot of these don't have significant or advanced tools. Unfortunately, the thing that we're doing once we see some of this happening, we're shutting everything down. So the business as a whole is completely impacted because we just don't know the sprawl of it at that point. We're shutting everything down until we can figure out how far it's gone, what needs to go back to a recovery point through backups, what's clean until it can get scanned. So no matter what, there is a business impact, but you hope that you have these next-gen tools so that you can catch them early. You can say, hey, we know for certain that it was kept to this really small segment. Everything else can continue. The website can stay up. We can keep business operations going. Accounting and HR still functioning as they need to. That's the important pieces, but it's that proactive piece you mentioned.
Yeah, it seems like the concerns around protecting the integrity of data, right? But really, when you get into the impact of the business, it's how long it takes to get up afterwards. Because even when we've experienced this and helped organizations get back up on their feet, you may be able to restore the data in a pretty timely process. Unfortunately, there's all the other stuff you got to fix, because if you stand the business right back up from a backup, they get right back in the same way they did.
Absolutely.
So run us through a little bit of the experience that you've had, many of them recently, and kind of what it takes to get those businesses back online after an attack, and that it's not just about the backups, it's about the process.
Yep, and a lot of that goes back to the proactive piece. A lot of companies hadn't sat down before an event happens, and this is unfortunate, and thought through what's the criticality of things and what's the order of operations things need to come up. So making that inventory and talking through as functional leaders, what needs to come up when. Is there a certain order that needs to happen? Is there a certain subset of our employees that are more critical than others for their machines to be, you're mailing out new ones with refreshed images on them, that type of thing. Really detailing out that plan. The other piece that we've really seen on the last few of these is when times are good, say right now before an event happens, also sitting down and talking with your organization, quasi data classification of performing where data sits, because it's the exfiltration piece. The attackers are stealing data to show you the proof of life that they've done something. Right. They're also most likely going to post data afterwards, which is why they're threatening. But if the organization doesn't know what they have from a data subset, and often you may know what your customer data is, but we don't think about employee data, or if you're going through mergers and acquisition, sensitive type of data that if it got leaked. So we've seen organizations take multiple days to think through, well, what data do we have? Where does it sit? And that's lost time. And often if you know where that data sits and you can tell that they didn't get there, you can call their bluff real quick and say, hey, you got in, but you got to 2 workstations, you got to a VM or a server that we don't care about. Great, we're not paying, we're gonna go through recovery with the experts, right, and we're done here. So that's important.
Yeah, I mean, as these attackers have gotten more accustomed to organizations maybe having a good backup, being able to get up quickly, now there's the threat of leaking that data, right? So when you talk about the cyber insurance and folks being covered to cover kind of the business operation, hey, we were down, we lost this much revenue, that's what that insurance is covering. How, are folks being adequately insured for kind of the risk around leaking sensitive data, and that these ransomware attackers are kind of using that as leverage beyond just that initial attack? Yeah,
I think so. Most of the insurance carriers we've worked with, and that should be a good part of your exercise as well, and oftentimes the insurance carriers are happy to bring in experts during the pre-attack times to kind of talk about it. But we've seen the insurance carriers bringing in really good forensic teams and really good negotiating teams and those types to help. So we've seen that go really, really well. It's just, is management prepared to have the hard discussions and make decisions in a really quick format? One thing you mentioned there that has been kind of a new way of attacking, as we've seen recently, they used to just encrypt, lock some systems, they were out of there, they'd send you, the ransom note, that type of thing. They were tired of people getting up and recovering so quickly, as you mentioned. So we're seeing them get really technical in the way on their way out. If you have a homegrown backup system or something that's not, air-gapped or separated, they're deleting all the backups as they leave. They're also locking you out of your password management tool. The most recent attacks are really serious on that front, and they're making it really, really, really hard to recover because you can't go back to a backup. You also don't have the keys to the kingdom anymore. Right. Yeah, you're kind of hosed at that point. So it's been interesting to help people recover from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if we put a real fine point on this, and you're giving kind of your top 3 or 5 bullets on how businesses can be prepared, they can be ready. What are the 3 or 5 most important things that IT leaders need to be doing today to be prepared for not just ransomware as it is today, but as you're saying, as they adapt to the recovery?
Yep, a lot of it is the proactive kind of training portion, and that's with the functional leaders. The training of employees on what to look for social phishing, email phishing, making sure that you go through as a management team through some tabletop exercises, having difficult conversations when times are good, working with making sure you have cyber insurance and that the coverage is appropriate, but also working with them, because the last thing they want to do is pay out. They would love to help you, up front, kind of save some money. And then looking at some technical defenses, advanced antivirus, looking at something with an EDR across all endpoints, and then keeping up on the patch management and not keeping outdated OSs and those types of things laying around will really help. I would say those are the main ones.
Yeah, and then talk a little bit about, as folks rely on their backups, right? It used to be, well, just make sure you have good, clean backups. Then you get into this idea of how do you segment these things? How do you keep backups? You mentioned the word air gap. There's a lot of terms that are flying around. How do you keep backups protected, knowing that is really the good first solution after this has happened? How are you seeing organizations, what are the best practices around keeping the attackers out of that stuff?
And it's really taking a big step back in how the solution was designed. Backup requirements, whether it was compliance or regulatory driven, were just, hey, make sure you've got nightly backups, keep a certain X date, perform periodic restorability tests. Sure. And that's as far as it went. That's great. I'm sure the backups worked 6 months ago. Well, these attackers have credentials now. They know where to go. You've left a roadmap for them with cookie crumbs. They're going to go delete them. So making sure you have air gap solutions, whether that's tape or a platform-based approach that has an air gap, whether that's separate credentials, tokenized type stuff, but making sure those things are in place should really help an organization.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, that was great information. Thanks for sharing it. That'll do it for us today at day one of the LightEdge Lounge. See you back here tomorrow with another set of great topics. And for now, enjoy the sessions.
Now, please welcome President of the Technology Association of Iowa, Brian Waller.
Hello and welcome. I'm Brian Waller, President of the Technology Association of Iowa, and thank you for joining us today at the 2021 Iowa Technology Summit presented by Wellmark, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield. At TAI, we believe every Iowa company is a technology company. Now, this summit provides technology professionals of all industries an opportunity to engage, learn, and connect with one another. Wellmark has been the presenting sponsor of the summit since its inception 5 years ago, supporting the Iowa tech community's advancement and growth. Join me in thanking our presenting sponsor, Wellmark, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield. We'd also like to thank LightEdge for hosting the LightEdge Lounge this morning. Now be sure to catch tomorrow's LightEdge Lounge interview beginning at 8:45. Thanks to the summit's lead sponsor, Checkpoint Software Technologies. Special thanks to our experiential event partner, Bow and Arrow Communications, for helping us bring this event to you virtually. Thanks to our track sponsors, Cirrus, EMC Insurance, Involta, and ProCircular, and to our exhibitor booth sponsors, LightEdge, Checkpoint Software Technologies, Involta, ProCircular, EMC Insurance, Cirrus, Google, Kingland Systems, Circle Computer Resources, the City of West Des Moines, Informatica, Pratum, Carrier Access, Snowflake, Arctic Wolf Networks, and Okta. Now be sure to visit all of the exhibitor booths today. Sign up for promotions like the booth or comment in the booth chat for an opportunity to win an Amazon gift card. At this time, I would like to introduce to you Paul Livko, this year's TAI Board Chair and Chief Technology Officer and Chief Experience Officer at Wellmark, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield.
Thank you, Brian. Wellmark is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's Iowa Technology Summit. With 2020 being the most unexpected year we all could have imagined, the Iowa tech community faced challenges head-on with ingenuity, purpose, and passion. The presenters this year's summit are looking forward to showcasing their successes and triumphs with you. Today, we're excited to bring you the cybersecurity and technology innovation tracks. You'll hear from cybersecurity leaders as they walk you through challenges they faced, strategies implemented, and successes achieved. Or you can jump over to the technology innovation track and discover ways to stay ahead of the communication curve and build team engagement and trust. I encourage you to participate in the ongoing conversations with speakers and fellow attendees today, and be sure to ask questions. With that, please join either of these tracks by selecting them from your agenda. I hope you enjoy the Iowa Technology Summit, and thank you for attending.